Beeline Podcast, Joe Barone.
Chris Burrow.
We are here again. Welcome back. We hope you had a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year, safe and everything like that. We hope you are healthy.
Well, this is the new year, actual new year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the New Year's off to a wild start, just 7 days in. But you know what? In the sports world, especially the New York sports world, I mean, 2021 couldn't have started any better.
I mean, yeah, look at all the teams that we have going right now. We have a blockbuster trade from the Mets today, actually, since it's Thursday.
Yeah, new coach for the Jets, hopefully soon.
Well, all right, let's not mess that up.
Giant, competitive, almost going to the playoffs, but not happening.
And then we got the New York Knickerbockers.
Right, that's right. I'm pumped. I made sure that I was going to get into Knicks this year. I told you that. And they have not disappointed. It's very, very fun to watch the Knicks, and I never thought I would ever say that. So I'm pumped.
They're a very exciting team. I can't wait for their next game tomorrow, so I rush days away now.
Yeah, so we have a lot to talk about, obviously, today. We have our New York Sports Fan of the Week in the waiting room, in that lobby, waiting for us to introduce him. So without further ado, let's introduce him. He is quite the catch, a background in sports media, used to be the voice of Hofstra Pride Athletics, and now an executive producer of Premier Networks. His name is Mark Weiner, a good friend of mine. Let's see if we can bring him on in. And there he is.
My apologies.
Why are you apologizing already?
Well, no, because the computer wasn't, the video wasn't on automatically. That's why I'm apologizing.
Totally fine. What's up?
Well, it's a great day. I mean, Francisco Lindor is a New York Met.
Yeah.
It's a great day, guys.
Great day. Have you ever felt this good before in your life?
In my life, yeah. I've gotten married.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of have to say that.
Yeah.
In terms of my sports fandom, I mean, the Giants won 2 Super Bowls. Those were pretty good. But in my Mets or Rangers fandom, no, never. Not once.
Okay, so basically, that got rid of our first question. Our first question was, tell us about your favorite teams and what are they? So list all your teams.
So the Rangers would be number 1.
Okay.
Then the Mets.
Okay.
The Giants, begrudgingly the Knicks. I mean, sure. They're exciting, though.
Hey,
I watched
man.
them the other day. And, of course, the Hofstra Pride.
Glad you mentioned them.
Yeah. Only for men's basketball, though. I mean,
that's it.
I tend to be a fan of the other teams, but let's be real. I'm a fan of one team.
Okay. All right. So
what winners you root for? Man.
What winners? Yeah. I mean, the Giants used to be pretty good. So did the Rangers. I think the Mets and the Rangers are going to be good again soon. The Giants, they're a tire fire. And who knows about the Knicks?
Look, I have to say, this has been a long time coming. We've been talking about Mr. Mark Weiner here. We call him Ween, and you call him Ween, Mark, whatever you want to say. What do you prefer? What do you prefer?
I don't care what you call me.
All right, fine.
As long as you don't call me late for dinner, I'm okay.
All right, perfect then. How was your holiday? The wife, the kids, all of them.
I don't have any no kids, and none anytime soon. The holiday was fine. You know, I had 2 weeks off to do absolutely nothing.
That's perfect. That sounds like
well, in a normal year, sure. You know, I would have went somewhere, maybe been on a beach, had a couple margaritas. This time I sat in my apartment and watched a lot of TV with my wife.
And that's a great piece of art you have right behind you, right over your shoulder.
Thank you. I didn't buy it.
Listen, that's totally fine.
This is my art here.
What is that?
All the bobbleheads.
Oh, your bobbleheads. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about the bobbleheads for a little.
All right. What do you want me to say about them?
Explain all of them.
I mean, you want me to introduce you? I mean, this is a little. You got Mike Piazza there. That's a bronze statue of Mike Piazza. This is a Hall of Famer. DeGrom, Jerry Seinfeld, the Mets one they gave out.
Big Seinfeld.
Last season we were actually able to go.
Yeah.
And David Wright.
Oh, very nice.
That's the top layer.
How'd you get into it?
It's just something to collect. I don't know.
How'd you get into it?
I don't know. I got one and I liked them. So I just kept getting more.
And the Mets, of course, they just give out nonstop bobbleheads.
They do. The Rangers are very bad about that. I have, in the other room, a Messier one they gave out. That might be the only bobblehead the Rangers, or giveaway. The Rangers give away, some cheap T-shirts occasionally.
We got one of those, Joe. Yeah.
You don't need to get fans to go to the Garden for a game. You need to entice fans to go to Mets games, or at least you used to. Now, maybe not anymore.
Right. Right. So you have that background in sports media. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Hofstra Pride in particular,
Sure.
because you were obviously the play-by-play voice. You were sports director at RHU when I was there, all that fun stuff. What made you get into it?
Huh. It kind of goes all the way back to high school. I don't know why I was interested in it. I don't remember. Actually, it was middle school. So, in eighth grade, I don't know if you guys did this differently. I went to high school and middle school in Florida.
Okay.
So, in eighth grade, the guidance counselor comes in from the high school, which is right next door, and gives you a course selection, kind of explains some of the classes. And I saw TV production and I think journalism or newspaper writing. I have no clue why that sounded good for me. I wish somebody could go back and tell my eighth grade self how stupid I was.
No.
But I really enjoyed that stuff. I at first enjoyed the tech stuff. And then I got into high school. So my high school was I was I want to say fourth or fifth graduating class. Like, it was a very new high school. So we had all this technology. We had cameras and we had a principal that would always give us new stuff. He was really invested in the program. We had our own studio. So I kind of took the bull by the horn, if you will. And I dove right into it. I, held positions there, president of the TV club or whatever they called it. And, high school
Little
stuff.
big title over there.
Yeah, big title there.
President Day.
I would do a little on air. I did this one segment called Question Mark. It was so Florida, the education system isn't exactly up to par with New York. So I went to elementary school in New York, 1 through or K through 5, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then I went to Florida. I was learning the same stuff over again. Even as long as high school, I would get to high school and be like, I learned this in 4th grade. So that's just Florida for you. So I had the idea of just asking really easy questions. I think Jay Leno used to do it too.
Okay.
But I just made it my own. And I started asking people questions like, who lives on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? And should we end women's suffrage? And like stuff like that.
Wow. Okay.
People, I would say to a female, should we end women's suffrage? And they would say yes. And I was like, why? Because women shouldn't suffer. I was like, well, that's not what women's suffrage is. But like, it was just stuff like that. And I would get just the most ridiculous and hilarious answers. And that was a big thing I did in high school. We didn't get too much into sports. Like, I look back and I was like, maybe we could have called some games or something. But back then I wanted to be behind the scenes and do tech. Then when I got, please ask a question.
Well, that was actually my next question. I know I used to do this when I was little. I think Joe knows that I used to do this. Did you ever like commentate your video games?
Oh yeah.
I started doing that more in like high school and college. I didn't do that when I was a kid.
Well, you were doing that in college to practice.
Yes, in college it was to practice.
And it's great practice, especially when all the name icons show up at the bottom. It's easy.
Yeah. It's so easy on a video game.
On a video game, yeah.
But we used to do it for actual games.
Right.
And it's so weird that like now that's how the kids at WRHU are calling games. Like, they have to call the away games off a monitor.
Yeah.
And because they're not traveling because of COVID.
Oh yeah.
So it's so weird that like we used to sit in that same room to practice, and we would do these same games over and over again. Maybe not the same game, so we wouldn't, basically be able to rehearse the game, but we would do that over and over again to get better. And now they're doing it for real. It's just so weird now.
Yeah. So you're the executive producer at Premier Networks.
Yep.
I want to ask you a pretty general question about producing. What is the key to being a really good producer, as far as, let's say, if somebody really wants to get in this business, right? Obviously, they want to get in this industry. Everybody wants to be the next play-by-play guy. You're not going to be that play-by-play woman, play-by-play guy, whatever. It's obviously tough, but producing is a legitimate field, a legitimate title to get. How do you become a solid producer all around?
A lot of hard work. I will say to anyone who's trying to get into the business, don't. To be perfectly honest, the media business is it's bad right now. There's layoffs everywhere. People aren't making the money they want. They're just kind of holding on. Companies are, doing forced vacations and stuff like that. And a lot of that was due to COVID, but the media industry wasn't exactly peachy before that. So, I do it because I love it, but it's, I'll be honest, it's not like I haven't tried to leave it before. But to be a producer, So I stumbled ass backwards into the job I have right now, basically. So I was with WOR 710 AM when the Mets had them. Another Hofstra alum, Pete McCarthy, got me in there, and I was basically the associate producer, board op. It was a low level job. So I spent about 2 full Mets seasons there, and then they had a sports talk show hosted by Pete in the off season. And then the Mets ended up going to WCBS. I still had a job. I could still be the board op for sure, but I didn't want to do the show they were doing. I didn't want to be there anymore. I was trying as hard as I could to get out, and I ended up getting a job within the company at Premier Networks, first as technical producer, and then some stuff happened, and I was in the right place at the right time, and I became the executive producer. And normally we're a nationally syndicated radio show that I produce. Normally we'd have a large staff. I am the staff, and ironically I'm large, but that's not what you normally mean is large staff. So I do quite a bit. If it needs to be done, I do it. And there's a lot of interesting situations that pop up.
Do you see any kind of ties? I know I was a producer when I was at Hofstra in the radio station. Do you see any similarities as far as trying to be creative, trying to create segments and all that?
Producing, I didn't directly answer your question.
Yeah.
Before. It was what's the best way to become a producer or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But the biggest tool I use is adaptability. Sure. It all depends on your host.
Yeah.
Whoever your host is, you have to adapt to. So the host I work with now doesn't need any help with content. I'm not pitching out story ideas or anything like that. I'm making sure the show gets on the air. I'm making sure the podcast is produced. I'm, promoting it, doing social media. But in the past, when I worked at WOR, the host sometimes would want to bounce ideas off me, would want ideas. Like it was something about the Mets. Him and I would just talk about it just to kind of get, maybe he's thinking something different. So you have to adapt to your host, because that's what you basically are. That's what a good producer is, only there to make sure his host does well. Yeah, I chime in on the air here and there, do stuff like that. But my job is to make sure the host sounds as good as possible and the host has everything they need. I have to say, there's a live read coming up. You got to do this, you got to do that. And I mean, I don't do live radio anymore, but that's what you do when you do live radio. Well, I did it yesterday by accident. Yesterday was a crazy day.
Yeah.
But yeah. You get the gist. You kind of you're there to service your host,
right?
Which sounds like you're some sort of servant, but you're not. That's how you make the show better, and that's how you do your job the best.
All right, that's actually very interesting. I want to get into sports with like the teams that you like, but I'm going to let you pick what you want to talk about.
I mean, I want to talk about the Mets today.
Okay, well, we'll start with the Mets.
Let's start with the Mets.
All right.
So how do you feel about the Lindor trade?
I mean, highway robbery by the New York Mets. That was fantastic. How do you get one of the best players in baseball? I'd say he's top 5, top 10 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the best shortstop in the league. You get him, and you get a very good starting pitcher, a 2-3 on any staff.
Yeah.
An ace on some staffs, depends, maybe the Reds, some crappy team. But regardless, you get these 2 guys, 2 all-star players for Ahmed Rosario. I mean, Jimenez, yeah, that hurts a little bit, but I'm not crying about Andreas Jimenez, and I'm not crying about the 2 other guys. You give up Brody Van Wagenen gave up more for Robinson Cano and Edwin Diaz than Sandy Alderson and Jared Porter just gave up to get Francisco Lindor and Carlos Carrasco. Like, that's incredible. I know it's the market. I know it's COVID, but just the fact that happened.
Right. I mean,
we're Mets fans. This doesn't happen.
Right. And listen, I understand the whole notion. I saw a couple people on social media today going like, oh, well, what did we give up? And I'm like, that is our thought process as a Mets fan, to kind of
automatically negative.
Right. Think negative. But there is not a shred of negative in this deal. I mean, you're getting a star shortstop in the prime of his career. You are getting a pitcher that, when healthy, who's battling leukemia, and even last year pitched extremely well.
Yeah.
When healthy, he is a stud, like you said, Mark. it just comes to a point where you just have to forget about the past and say, listen, it's a new era, new regime, and just be like, wow, this is actually legitimate. This could actually be really, really good for us.
Somebody said to me before they were so worried that they weren't going to re-sign Lindor. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, just stop.
Who else is
I
giving
hate
him
to
that
break
much
it
money?
to you, but if they did that and don't re-sign him, there has to be an investigation. All right.
Oh no, they are.
First of all,
they've got to be. They got to sign him. It's
What other team in baseball has the money to sign him right now?
right.
And he's
Exactly.
not going to take the risk of going to free agency next year with that many shortstops on the market and with a new CBA potentially. It would be stupid for him not to re-sign with the Mets.
well, that's what they were talking about on the radio today, because they were saying we could have held off for Correa and all of those, Trevor Story. But like, what makes you think they're going to come here?
Not
What-
even that. Not
What
even
was that? Michael Kay saying that? He's a moron.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
Jeff Passan actually said it.
I mean, come on.
Listen,
Yeah.
not even that. What I wanted to say was Lindor is obviously the best guy available, right? He's the best shortstop in the game by far.
Yeah. And he's only 27.
And he's only 27, right? He's 27 years old. He's going to take a lot of money, but first of all, it's not your money, so who gives a shit?
I don't
Second
care.
of all, right. Second of all, Steve Cohen could afford him, so why not go and get him? You know?
Did you see the report
Exactly.
that Steve Cohen
Yeah.
made $1.2 billion in 2020?
So he made basically his deal back for the Mets, right?
I mean, the guy can afford whatever he wants.
Yeah, I know.
Can
Well,
we get
since
back to
we're-
Michael Kay for a second? That show sucks.
Okay.
It
I just want to throw that out there. Why do you listen to it, Chris?
It wasn't him. It was Jeff Passan, who I think hates the Mets.
Jeff Passan. I thought you were going to say it was Peter Rosenberg. Ugh.
No, I'm actually watching them right now, to be
Wow.
actually.
Can I ask a question? I legitimately, I want to somebody who does not listen to that show because I think the three of them are clowns. I don't mind LaGreca, but the two of them are definitely clowns. Why? Why do you listen to that show?
I get entertainment out of it.
Do you not prefer Carton Roberts?
I do, but they're not on TV. They're only on the radio.
That's another thing. That's another thing, though. If Carton
Aren't they on
Roberts
Twitch?
Twitch,
What happened?
I think WFAN has a deal with Twitch.
do they really? Wow, I didn't know that.
I never heard of that.
All right. Well, we are kind of getting
I'm sorry. I hate the K show. I just wanted to.
just a couple more questions about the Mets before we change topics a little bit. You got now Lindor and Carrasco. Do you go after Bauer or Odorizzi or Springer? One of those three, two of those three?
Bauer's kind of a douche, so I don't know if I want him. Like the stuff he's doing with John Heyman on Twitter, like it's just unnecessary and stupid. Like I don't like that kind of guy if I'm building a team.
Yeah.
And what are you going to get? You're going to give him this much money. You already have a good rotation.
Yeah.
I say either you go after Springer or Jackie Bradley. I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind Jackie Bradley Jr. if you solve the third base situation. I don't like JD Davis. I think offensively first season, fine. Defensively, you're not putting JD Davis out there 9 innings game for 140 games or whatever he might play.
Well, I heard this. I heard this, that they would think about, especially if the DH now comes to the NL, which would be great.
It has to.
Which would benefit the Mets entirely, because then what you do is you put Davis out in left field. You could put McNeil.
That's even worse.
Or Dom Smith at first base. Alonso.
How about you put JD Davis in Pittsburgh?
Okay, and then who's going to
like a good first step?
Yeah, well, and then you sign Jackie Bradley Jr. or whatever, or Springer. You throw him in center, Nimmo in left, Conforto in right, and then you have a set outfield, right? And then you do Alonso as your DH, Smith. You get his bat and glove in on the field.
So interchange them because Pete wants to play first base.
I get it, but Smith is also the better first baseman.
Oh, I agree with you, but obviously you want to appease your star.
Yeah.
So maybe Smith plays 100 games at first base, Pete plays 60. That's fine.
Yeah. Speaking of appeasement, let's move on to the Giants, because I know the Giants really, the Eagles really appease the Giants fans.
I don't care.
We have to.
Someday. we got to talk about that. Yeah. Are you? We'll give you your platform to vent for a second about the events that kind of went down on Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening.
Okay, now you want me to do it? I thought there was a question coming. My bad.
No, go ahead. Vent.
You're going to be surprised at this. Okay. I wanted the Giants to lose.
Oh, okay.
Get a better draft pick. you're not. Who cares if you make the playoffs at 6-10? That's still embarrassing. Like, I just don't understand these Giants fans, and it's sports talk radio. It's everybody in New York has been giving the Giants a pass for the past 3 years under Dave Gettleman because the Jets are even worse.
Mhm.
So everyone forgets about the Giants, but Dave Gettleman should not be the GM anymore. Daniel Jones should not be the quarterback. Joe Judge is the only good thing Dave Gettleman did, and I think that was a lot the Maras and the Tisches. I don't think that was 100% Gettleman. The fact that on, what was it? Was it yesterday? I don't even remember. Yesterday was a fucking – am I allowed to curse on this show?
You're okay.
Yeah, why not?
Yesterday was a terrible day, obviously, for America.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened in the morning. I think Gettleman spoke yesterday morning or the day before. Obviously, there's a podcast. You could be listening to this in a month, but you know what I mean. But they actually speak and say, John Mara said that he thinks Giants fans like the direction of the team and are happy with things. Who are these Giants fans? I would like to find them. I'd like to talk to them.
Yeah.
Because the Giants are trash. They've got maybe 5 good players. One of them is a running back coming off a torn ACL, a running back they never should have even taken 2nd overall. And then you take this atrocity of a quarterback, 6th overall in a draft. He's so bad.
No, that's a little harsh. I think
Okay.
the verdict.
Why is it harsh?
The verdict is still out on him. He showed
How
some.
is the verdict out? He threw 11
No, he
touchdown passes.
fumbles too a lot.
He's cut down the fumbles.
Oh, cut down the fumbles. I don't need a guy who has to work on cutting down fumbles on my fucking team.
Listen, if that is the worst thing,
I'm sorry.
If that's the worst thing, then that's it. Because he could still move the ball. Okay.
How?
What do you mean how?
Yo, they scored 17 points per game in the highest scoring year in the NFL.
I mean, also look at your
history. In history, all the teams combined scored more points than ever before, and the Giants were awful. They scored under 20 points per game, Joe.
Coordinator sucked.
So did the players.
Yeah,
So this leads into my question. Well, I have a 2-part question.
Yeah.
Number one, so what do you want them to do in the draft? Do you want them to draft a quarterback?
Where are they going to be drafting? 11 or so?
I think 11.
11? They're probably not going to get.
They might.
They want there.
Mac
Maybe
Jones.
Zach Wilson.
No, Zach Wilson probably.
Zach Wilson is not falling that far.
But it's not even a question because Dave Gettleman's still the GM. So they're going to give Daniel Jones another year.
Right.
Gettleman will foobar this draft pick for sure. I'm sure whoever Gettleman drafts, it will be a shitty choice. And the Giants will be set back a couple more years. Every day that Dave Gettleman is the GM of the New York Giants, they're going behind. They're going backwards.
So what do you want? So what do you want them to do with Saquon? Sign him?
Sign him. You have to because no one's going to take him.
Yeah.
Nobody's trading for a running back at fair value off a torn ACL. It's just not happening.
Yeah, and they were talking about this today as well. I heard a lot of people talking about this. Barkley's going to be coming back next year, hopefully in full health.
You have one talented player on offense.
And he's still young, obviously. Was he 24, 20, 25?
Yeah. By the way, they screwed up the offensive tackle pick too.
Well, that's
Thomas.
There were 4 offensive tackles that were supposed to be drafted in that area.
Jets got the best one.
The Jets get the best one at what? What did they pick? 13?
No, I think
4.
What?
4? No, not this year. Not this past year. They picked a lot.
I think they were 7 to 11 range.
Yeah, exactly. The Giants picked high. They had the first pick of tackles.
Yeah.
Everyone knew they were going to take a tackle.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why'd you take the 4th best one of the 4 that were available?
But a lot of people were on Thomas.
But, listen, I know it was just his rookie season.
Yes.
So I can't be.
Come on, let's relax. You're being
down on him, but just with Dave Gettleman in general, it's just he always makes that choice that everyone goes, what the hell are you doing? Why can't you just choose the guy that's supposed to be good?
Here's the deal, though, okay? Draft picks are such a crapshoot in general, so wipe that out for a second. If you fire Gettleman,
not for a lot of teams.
Look, if you fire Gettleman next year, right? Or let's say you do what the Jets did and fire him after the draft. Okay.
Oh yeah, that'll be the smart thing to do.
Right. Let's just say that. Okay. Let's just say Gettleman is gone by 2022. You still have Joe Judge.
Yeah.
That
should be the GM.
You're gonna make Judge
Belichick
again, like a Belichick structure.
And Pete Carroll does the same thing in Seattle, by the way.
Does he?
The GM does not have player personnel. They can still have a GM, but Joe Judge can be the end all be all of the decisions. I think Joe Judge is that talented of a head coach.
Isn't that going to create a clash?
Seattle works fine, doesn't it?
So does New England.
So does New England.
Yeah,
They
Belichick
have a
does
GM
it.
also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it works if you have a head coach that can do it, and I think Joe Judge is that type of coach. That's the only thing the Giants have going for them. The problem is they're not giving him any more responsibility. They're letting Gettleman do it, and I mean, you know my thoughts on him already.
Yeah, I don't like Gettleman either. I'll tell you who has a good GM though: the Rangers.
Yeah.
And the Rangers, the team all the way up there, and actually that jersey. We'll talk about that later. By the way, we have a couple of segments coming up. It's called the Lightning Round. So we'll get you little little zaps, and we'll get you your opinion on all things Lightning Round. But the Rangers and the general manager Jeff Gordon. I want to know your expectations going on into this year, and where do you see this team? Because I know you follow them just as much as anybody.
Yeah, I mean this year's going to be tough, especially with the way the NHL's doing it with the 4 divisions. And by the way, just to the side, people are crapping on them for the sponsored divisions. You know what? If you want the people, the social media manager, the radio broadcasters, the low-level employees, if you want them to keep having their jobs, let them sponsor whatever they'd like.
I agree.
Because that's the first people that go.
Right.
The owner's not going to make any less money. The players aren't going to make less money. It's those people on the bottom. So let them sponsor their jock straps for all I care, as long as everyone keeps employed and the NHL is healthy.
That's right.
The Rangers this year, it's going to be a growing year. It's not going to be a year I expect them to make the playoffs. Could they? Sure. If everything goes right, yeah, they could make the playoffs. But remember, now Boston's in that division. Mm-hmm. And you take out Carolina, who's a very good team, but you had Boston, who's a Stanley Cup contender. So that's basically all you did for the division. It's going to be tough, and only 4 teams make it, and you have a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I mean, I think they stink. In general, it was an accident that they made it there, but they still made it there. And you have a lot of other good teams.
Listen, you got to show respect where the respect is due.
I respect it. I respect the hell out of what the Islanders did, but let's be realistic. Would they have even made the playoffs in the first? If COVID never happened, they might not have even made the playoffs.
They were struggling towards the end of the last year, but they would have made the playoffs. I do think
they got hot in the bubble at the right time.
That's what happens. Yep.
And it just worked. And all the other teams couldn't get their footing. It was weird with a couple months off. The Islanders did it better than the other teams.
No, I don't
think they make it that far in a regular year. If I'm being honest, I don't think they're talented enough. They're very good defensively, but they don't have the offensive firepower.
Yeah, it's all about the structure. All about that. And the coach, Trotz.
Exactly.
About that.
So here's something about hockey, because I haven't even asked you this, Joe. How do you guys feel about the scheduling?
I don't mind it.
So neither do I. I feel like it's more tension towards games, too, because you're playing them back to back.
And every game's a playoff game this year.
Essentially.
So it's going to be intense. I think early in the season will be difficult for a lot of teams just because they're not even playing one preseason game.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really hard on them. But I think once you get to February, it's going to be playoff hockey every night.
Yeah. And first couple of games, at least the first month, like you said, it's going to be a lot of sloppiness, a lot of pucks off sticks and all that kind of stuff.
The NFL.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly the first month. But like you said, February and March and April, I'm just glad that we're going to be watching hockey in April and May. Like, that's fun. I always said the best time to watch hockey is to wear a jersey with shorts on. That is the best feeling in the world. It just gave you like a playoff type feel, playoff type emotion. So much intensity. I love it.
Year was so weird when they came back in the bubble. It's like
so weird. In August.
It was like May.
Yeah. Didn't the finals end in August or early September? It was just
September. I think early September. I think late August. Yeah, but still, that's great.
Now I want to touch on the Knicks real quick. I know you don't really watch basketball, you said, but the Knicks are off to a hot start. So
you gonna see if I can name 5 players.
Yes, do it.
Yeah, go.
Oh crap! Julius Randle, R.J. Barrett.
Okay.
Elfrid Payton, Kevin Knox.
This guy.
How many did I get?
4.
Oh, Mitchell Robinson.
Oh yeah.
All right, not bad.
That's an easy one.
Mitchell Robinson, the tallest guy on the court, but can't get a rebound. Makes sense.
Yeah, he's From what I mean, I don't watch often, so I can't really comment. But I know he's one of their better players. I play 2K. That's the only reason I know anything about the NBA anymore is from playing 2K. To be honest.
No, players love video games for that reason. Like Josh Allen has said so much about how much Madden has taught him all these little nuances about the game, and I think that's pretty cool. The fact that players, you can relate to them, saying like, "All right, I could learn a little bit about the sport by playing a video game."
The best thing about social media is that you can actually see the players' personalities for once. Yeah. Usually it was only the media that could do that. Right. Now they're actually, I hope hockey players do it more often, because hockey players are the most stale human beings. They're some of the nicest. A hockey player will give you the shirt off his back. They're the most charitable ones, but they're so quiet and boring. And I always say that's why the NHL is so far behind the other leagues, because they're just so boring. They just give the same canned answers in interviews. They don't do anything on social media. Even like people were so mad at them with all the BLM stuff. None of them would really come out and take a stand. I don't even take a political stand. Take a stand on anything. Be interesting.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow the game to younger people. Look how well the NBA has done, of
course,
on social media and stuff. That's why the NBA is exploding and the NHL isn't, is because the players are just so boring sometimes.
They're so dry too.
Yeah.
All right, before we take a quick timeout because of the segments, I do have to ask you a question. You were the lead reporter at one point for the Islanders. When we were at Hofstra's radio station. You taught me everything you knew, and everything that I became at that station was because of you. Well, some of it. I'll just, because
he's walking back the compliment.
Yeah, I got a lot of people to thank, but I got to ask you rather, what was maybe one of the best moments in that Islanders locker room, or funniest that you faced with?
Funniest was definitely Casey Cizikas coming out. I was waiting to interview him. Some other reporters wanted to interview him also, so I asked the PR guy for him. And he comes out in this like long, no, he comes out in a towel on his bottom and a hoodie. And the PR guy just looks at him. I'm standing right there, and he laughs and goes, "Are you wearing pants under that?" He goes, "Nope." That was hilarious. The best moment.
That's funny though. That's funny. That's great. You know, hockey players are some of the nicest people in the world.
They are. They're very friendly always, and always good for you. And I know this is a sore subject for a lot of Islander fans, but I was around towards the end of the Tavares era.
Right.
And first of all, John Tavares, for a superstar athlete, which I guess in New York he wasn't because the Islanders. But in general, he's a top 10 player in the NHL. He's one of the best. Yeah. I needed him for one question. I was doing a story on Thomas Hickey, who had a weird penchant. He never scored goals unless he was in the playoffs. He scored the biggest goals. So I wanted to ask John Tavares. I needed one quote out of him because he was the captain. And he had just done a long scrum. It had been like 10, 15 minutes. And he was walking out. I was just, "John, do you have 30 seconds for me?" And he did it, which is just a superstar athlete doing that. Like, if I asked Aaron Judge to do that, he'd tell me to go F myself. Or any star athlete. I'm not just picking on the Yankees. But my favorite moment with Tavares was after he scored the game winner against the Panthers to send the Islanders to their first second round since, 93? Yeah. It was a very long time since they had won a playoff series. I had a tendency, I never watched the game. I couldn't. At Barclays Center, it was an overtime. So I was like kind of in the corner, and they were at the other goal. So I couldn't see. I hear the horn, and I'm not a very fast person. I might have gotten to that locker room in 10 seconds.
Hold on.
I don't know how I did it.
You got to stand up and do a little runway.
No, that's not happening. I'm a very slow human being, but I somehow got to the front of the line and got to ask Tavares the first question. And that's just what I did. I don't know why I thought it was so important at the time, but that's what I wanted to do. And then that was awesome. And it's just awesome being there. I mean, we always used to say it in college, like, we want to get back there one day. We want to, we're interviewing these NHL players, and then the goal is to somehow, after college, work your way back up. Even if you're at the top, but you're still a college student, and then you have to go have a career and stuff.
True. No, it's true. I know.
And now that I'm not in sports, I'm in politics. Who the hell knows if I'll ever get back? So I look at it as, wow, I got to do this. How amazing is that I got to do all this stuff?
Yeah. I always say that. I always said that it's something that you're going to tell your kids one day, that you were in that locker room when this happened, and you got one time you got hit in the head with Shane Prince's jockstrap, or you, or sometimes you talk to Johnny Boychuk and he would give a one-word answer and look at you and stare at you, knowing what he did, and cause just like a little scene. So things like that,
You would always almost get hit by towels or balls of tape.
Yeah.
Because they had trash cans everywhere. They have trash cans everywhere in the locker room. They're just kind of throwing them.
Yeah.
I wonder if that ever comes back, by the way.
What?
The media going into the locker room.
You're right. They probably,
They might not ever bring that back, even 10 years after COVID. I'm curious if that comes back.
I don't think that is, because they've been having problems with that before COVID. With like the woman going in and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think players are being babies about that.
Yeah.
You know, especially so how it works in hockey is they don't actually get dressed and undressed in the locker room that the media goes in. They have another room
that
they go to change their clothes, to shower. They're only taking off their equipment.
Right.
Yeah, but what about football?
Football, no. I've been in a football locker room. They get undressed right in front of me. So.
But they don't care. If there's, you know what? I think in that sense, if you're going to get undressed in front of a bunch of men, who cares if there's a woman there?
Right.
I guess.
And you have to go in with the mindset that they can just do as good as a job as a man, and that's the fact.
And they do. There are some Doris Burke is the first one that pops into my. Yeah. She's better than most NBA analysts.
Oh yeah,
that's what I think too. Yeah.
Beth Mowins, CBS. She's been doing a lot of CBS NFL play-by-play. Yeah. She's good.
100%.
Yeah.
But listen, we have to take a quick timeout. When we return, we're gonna go to you like that? You like that little?
I like that one.
Of course. You know, it's a little thing that we got in the old radio business. When we return, lightning round, and we have a bunch. We have a potpourri of questions for you. Okay.
I'm ready to answer them.
All right, welcome back to the Beeline Podcast. Joe Barone,
Chris Burrow,
and our New York Sports Fan of the Week.
Am I supposed to say my name here?
Yeah.
Mark Weiner.
So right. Come on, man.
You gotta warn me, Joe.
Like, pretend like you were in this before. But listen, we have a new segment, lightning round, and we're going to. Chris and I are going to go back and forth, ask you questions. Keep them quick, keep them lightning fast, and pretty simple. All right.
All right.
All right. All right. First question: most memorable moment at a sports event.
I don't know if I've had one. Remember the teams I root for?
Yeah, but you've been at a lot of games.
I have been at a lot of games, but none stick out as like, wow, this game was amazing. Because like I never really went to a lot of playoff games or any big games.
At David Wright's last game, that's not a memorable moment.
I was not at I was at David Wright's second to last game. Fun fact. All right, this is going to be my memorable moments. I was at David Wright's second to last game and Wayne Gretzky's second to last game.
That's a fun fact. That's a fun fact.
I always am one game short. Just the way it goes.
And you're short too. Chris, go.
I'm short.
Team that you would want to see win a championship the most.
The Rangers. 100%. Why? They've just always been my number one team. Listen, I want to see the Mets win almost as much, but the Rangers are just my favorite team.
Okay. Now, your holy shit, this is real moment when you were in the radio business.
When I was standing in front of Henrik Lundqvist.
Okay.
So we also did color commentary before Joe got there. It was students doing the games along with Chris King. So I took it upon myself. I just was basically using my position to so I went to a Rangers practice. I drove up to Westchester to get some quotes. And Lundqvist had a weird procedure. He didn't just, and by the way, all the best to him. I really hope he's good with the heart surgery. But he did this thing where every other player, you would just kind of go up to them. But Lundqvist, apparently, you can't go up to him until he's done taking off his pads and he looks up. I didn't know this. I didn't ask him a question or anything. I didn't screw this up. But I kind of was just milling around, joining scrums. Because, I didn't know the Rangers locker room as well as I would know the Islanders locker room. I was an outsider. I wasn't going to ruffle any feathers. So then I'm just following the scrums kind of, and I keep looking over at Lundqvist. I'm like, why is nobody talking to Henrik Lundqvist before a Ranger-Islander game? And eventually everyone swarmed, and then I got in on the scrub, and I was standing right in front of him. I didn't ask a question. I didn't have the balls that day. I don't know. And what was I going to ask? I was just there for quotes to get some background stories. I didn't really need a question. I was just there.
Yeah, it was the humming moment. For you.
It was the humming moment for sure.
So this is a Mets question.
All right.
Trevor Bauer or George Springer? We only get one.
George Springer. As I
Why?
said before, Bauer's a douche, number one. And two, I think Springer fits in better. They're very left-handed from the plate. So I like a right-handed power bat would be good. And they've needed a center fielder potentially my whole life. Since Beltran, they haven't had a center fielder that's actually a good fielder, a good hitter. They either have one or the other. And Brandon Nimmo, I can't watch another season of him playing center field. I like Nimmo, but he's not a center fielder. He just doesn't have the defensive capability.
So Chris,
That's valid.
Yeah.
The map right now with these questions. So I don't know what exactly he's doing. So
What?
I'm just gonna go back to my first page. You're going all over the place right now.
All right, let him move around. It's fun. I'm here.
So it's keeping me on my toes too. So I'll go to this one. The moment or call that gave you chills.
Call? Oh, see, it would have been if Hofstra would have won the championship my senior year. Like I had that call. I wasn't planned out, but I had some phrases written on my chart. Like I knew what I was calling. And I wouldn't have screwed it up like they did last year and gotten the number of years since they last won a championship wrong and then not even noticed and think I made a great call. But I guess there's not one. I get this when we went to UNCW, it was a long trip. We lost our bags. It was a lot of delayed flights. And then they won on the road against the other best team in the conference on a buzzer beater by Wanye Green 4-point play. And then we're at the airport, and I guess Hofstra Pride had tweeted out my call, and one of the coaches accidentally plays it really loud for everyone to hear. And everyone looks at him and he goes, "Oh, shit, sorry. Great call, Mark." Like, that was great. That and when Hofstra went to the CAA final for the first time, I think it was since 06 or something, and it was in the semifinals. That winning call was pretty awesome too. So in terms of those moments, it was those. Yeah.
Wait, no, Joe, you could go.
I was gonna say, is that also your "God damn it, I'm good" moment?
I don't really have a "God damn it, I'm good" moment. I think that's just built up.
Stop being bashful.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. The "God damn it, I'm good" and I hate it moment. So a week before my wedding last year, I called what has ended up being and could very well be the last game I ever called. It was at Hofstra. Hofstra was hosting the CAA tournament for volleyball. And they asked me to come in and do the games. I got paid for it and all that. And I was calling the final. And I just had an awesome final call when Towson went undefeated. I think they were the first team in conference history to go undefeated and go to the NCAA tournament. I just had an awesome call. People were sharing it on Twitter. It was great. And I was like, fuck, I'm still really good at this, but like, I'm never going to get a job. Like, I'm married now. We want to have kids eventually. Like, I have to settle. I can't be moving to bumblefuck nowhere to try and work my way up to get a job. So I hate that I'm really good, but I am. And it sucks because I can't use that talent anymore because I have to be all career focused and, wife and stuff. And I love my wife dearly. It's a choice I made. I just want to throw that out there. I made the choice to forego my on-air career and become behind the scenes. But
best call you ever made right there by saying that.
What? I think your papers are on your microphone, Joe.
I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Did you hear my other questions?
I heard the questions, but just then I have no idea what you said.
He didn't hear you diss my questions.
Yeah.
I said, no, that was the best call you ever made by saying that about your wife.
Well, yes, because otherwise I would have gotten hit over the head with a shovel or something,
Yes. All right, go ahead, Chris.
All right, so this one's not on there, but is that the biggest game you've ever announced? Or what is the biggest game you've ever announced?
Well, I never did a playoff Islander game, so I guess if we're just talking basketball, yeah, because Hofstra didn't end up making it to the NCAA tournament, so I guess the CAA men's basketball final in 2016 would be the biggest game. I got chills before the game. He's trying to just stay calm and be like, I could have the call. They hadn't won a CAA title ever, and they hadn't gone to the NCAA tournament since 2001. They ended up breaking it last year in classic Hofstra fashion. They win the CAA tournament, and then 3 days later, the NCAA tournament got canceled.
Yeah.
So
now, would you have went?
No.
Not last year. No, I wasn't playing the games yet. But if they would have won my senior year, yeah, we would have went to the tournament.
Yeah, the same thing with basically what the question is with RHU would have probably sent broadcasters to the site
this year. Yeah, but
there was no pandemic, obviously.
Yeah, there was no pandemic.
All right, your mindset the first time you were actually on a broadcast.
I'm trying to remember what the first. Oh, actually, I know my first play-by-play or color broadcast. It went terribly. I was doing women's lacrosse, and I'm not a lacrosse guy. I grew up, in New York and partially Florida, but like I barely knew what lacrosse was coming in. But the sports director at the time said, "Hey, you want to do this game?" And I was a freshman. I said, "Yeah, of course." Like I'm not going to say no. And I did with one of my good friends, Dan Savarino, and it was fine. I was very nervous going into it, but then I have a tendency to make a stupid joke at the wrong time, and I did it, and it came off really poorly. Like nothing inappropriate that anybody would have known other than us.
You always
stop putting your piece of paper on your computer, Joe. I swear, I can't hear you.
I have nothing.
All right.
I'll talk closer like this.
Okay? Yeah, you got to do that. All right. But yeah, I made a stupid joke. It went poorly, but like everyone just laughed at it. It was my first game. It was, women's lacrosse. It wasn't that big of a deal. I learned from it and I got better and better. And, that's just how it is. But my mindset was like, I don't know this sport very well. Like, I think I can call a game, but I don't know this sport. And so men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse differ very much. Like, women's lacrosse has a bunch of people that play women's lacrosse, cover women's lacrosse would say are dumb. They have dumb rules, which is supposed to keep the players safe because men's lacrosse is a very physical game. It's kind of like hockey on grass in a way. Okay. But women's lacrosse is not a very physical game, so they put a lot of rules. Like you can't shoot if somebody's in the way of your shot or stuff like that. So like I didn't know all these rules. I didn't know the sport. So I was very nervous going in. Obviously the nerves got shaken off eventually, but that's how you learn. You do it.
So your first feeling, well, not really your first feeling, but like what were your nerves of going into an NHL locker room to interview pro athletes?
I don't even know if I can remember the first time vividly, like because I ended up going so many times that like it was probably a practice where it was just like you can't look awestruck because you're supposed to look like you belong,
like a professional. Yeah,
you're supposed to look like a professional, but like I'm just like afterwards like holy crap, I'm in an NHL locker room, I'm a media member doing this stuff, and it's just looking back on it, you say that a lot more than in the moment, because in the moment you're trying to just do a job. You're trying to enjoy it as much as you can, but you're not there to enjoy it. You're there to do a job, and that's kind of the important part there. But yes, it was like you're one of the holy shit moments of your life that you're doing this. And the first time I ever did color for a game, like I'm on the radio, people are listening to me do color commentary. Me, this guy who never played sports, never did anything like that, just watch the game, and you're listening to me, and it's so ridiculous that I was able to do that in college. But I'm so thankful for the opportunity. I got to go to the Bell Center in Montreal. I got to go to Pittsburgh. I got to call some games at some cool arenas. So that was.
So they sent you to like away games too?
Not all of them. So
like some of them.
Yeah, the year I did color was the last year we did color. It was my junior year. So we knew it was going to be we thought we were. So the Islanders were moving to Barclays Center too. We were like, there's no chance we have the team next year. They're going to go get a professional radio station. So let's spend all the money we can. We did so many road games that year. We had 4 different color guys. And we went at the end of that season. They did a playoff run. I thought it was over. We're never going to come back. I don't know if Joe was even in the department yet, but all of a sudden there's like rumblings. We're going to come back. We're not going to do color anymore, but you're going to be reporting and you're going to be producing the games. And I think I was sports director at the time, and I had to call it became official. I had to call an emergency meeting. I'm like, guys, we have to do the Islanders again, guys and gals or whoever was there. We have to do the Islanders again. Let's get ready. And we had like a couple weeks to get ready again, to do that all again. And we had lost most of our on-air talent. From the year before. I was basically the only person who had, because we also stopped training people. because we were like, what the hell are we training people for? Because we're not going to have them anymore. So we had to bring back a lot of alumni and ask for a lot of help. And I'm sorry I'm rambling, but I thought that was a fun
lightning
story.
round. I want to go to the lightning round bonus round.
Well, this is lightning round, I thought.
Sort of. Okay, sure.
You keep asking me questions that lead to a story. I'm sorry.
All right, fine, which is good. We should have just did the whole interview like that, basically. So, favorite athlete of all time?
Oof. There's a couple.
1A, 1B.
I mean, I kind of want to say Richter and Lundqvist, but there's also David Wright.
I get it.
So those are the three.
Okay.
Those are my three favorite of all time.
So then, Joe, ask your next question. I'll go after you.
All right. Favorite team or player that's not in New York that you don't mind watching?
Right now, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. Especially in football, I need to have another team. So
why the Chiefs, not the Packers?
I mean, I love Aaron Rodgers. I like Aaron Rodgers.
I'm kidding.
I mean, Patrick Mahomes is on another level. Yes, Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But I think Mahomes, when he's done, I wouldn't be shocked if everyone calls him the best of all time. He's got the talent for sure.
All right. So a thing you complain most about?
Everything.
Everything.
Absolutely everything. There's nothing I don't complain about. And Joe can attest to that. Is there anything I don't complain about? Who are you texting? Like, what's more important than what I'm talking about right now?
Texting. I'm crossing out questions because
Okay.
I can't follow what my cousin is doing.
Why don't you pretend to be interested?
I am interested. Of course I'm interested. You complain about everything.
Exactly. See, I do.
You're a no good bastard. That's why.
Now I'm complaining about being on the podcast. I'm complaining about the podcast that I'm on.
It is hot in here. Okay.
Put on air conditioner.
Next question. The sport you don't mind watching when your favorite team isn't on?
Like the sport I can watch any game at any time and be happy.
Yeah.
It's a tie between football and hockey. Baseball, I could not care less if the Mets aren't playing. Yeah. Like I'll watch the World Series, maybe some good playoff games, but I'm not going to watch a random Reds Pirates game. Like I can't do that. But for hockey and football, I don't care what game, I'll watch it.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Favorite broadcaster?
Of all time. Mine.
Of all time, your favorite broadcaster? My favorite broadcaster? Doc Emmerich. He was the best there ever was. Obviously, he's still alive, but it was really sad when he retired because I was like, that Lightning Stars game is going to be the last time I ever heard Doc, and you didn't know about it. You just thought, Doc will be back next year. I'm sure he'll want to come back and have his last year, at least in the stadiums or in the arenas. So Doc, and then, I mean, I got to say Gary and Howie too as well. Gary Cohen and Howie Rose. I mean, the Mets fans are so spoiled in how good their broadcasters are and I know Howie a little bit off the air, obviously, and he's a fantastic person. Wayne Randazzo, his partner as well, is so good. He's a really young guy, but he's so good. I mean, I don't want to be like the Mets fans versus Yankees kind of guy, but if you look at the Mets versus Yankees in terms of just broadcasting, the Mets it was the only thing the Mets had in the Wilpon era over the Yankees was their broadcast. Because I can't listen to a Yankee broadcast.
Yeah.
Because you hate Michael Kay.
I hate Michael Kay, number one, but John Sterling on the radio, I mean, God. It's like, how do they still have jobs?
Yeah, I know.
I'll listen to a Yankee game when Ruco's on. Ruco's fantastic.
Very good, yeah.
Now, you know Howie Rose, you just said?
Well, yeah, I worked for Mets Radio.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say we're close. Would he even remember my name? Maybe. But, Howie knows a lot of people. But from the interactions I've had with Howie, he's been nothing but a stand-up professional, a good guy, yeah.
Joe, you're up.
I'm up. I just asked 2 straight questions.
I don't have any more questions right now.
Okay, fine. Social media, good or bad for the athlete?
I said before a little bit, good if you use it right.
Right.
If you use it to show your personality, use it to connect with the fans. What I don't like about social media for the athletes is how they use it to circumvent the media and use it to bash the media. Gotcha. I look at it, it's actually, I think I said this to someone a while ago, someone like Kyrie Irving, for example, who at the beginning of the season, we thought he wasn't going to talk to the media at all. He basically said that in a cryptic statement. I was like, these guys, and I'm sorry to get a little tiny bit political. These guys hate hates Trump with a burning passion and then uses tactics against the media. It's just incredible. Like they'll bash the media, just same stuff Trump will say, but then they say how much they hate Trump. It's just weird to me that some athletes treat the media like they're the enemy when, especially in sports media, there's no agenda. Maybe a columnist might have an agenda, but they're just trying to serve us. They're serving the fans. They're writing articles with quotes from you.
Hold on a second. You'd be surprised how many beat reporters have an agenda.
Okay.
Everybody has an agenda in the
They're
world.
not supposed to. I think a beat reporter should not have an agenda. Tell me what's going on with the team.
You're right. They should not have an agenda, but some of them do.
How about Manish Mehta, by the way?
I was just going to say that, yeah.
But first of all, here's the difference. He's a columnist, so he's supposed to have an opinion.
Okay.
Granted, he's not supposed to chase the Jets GM's son to a baseball game in Philadelphia and text him that he's eating an ice cream cone. I mean, what? That was the line.
Yeah.
That is an example of bad media.
Yeah.
But my point in general with the social media thing is I like it when they show their personalities, but I hate when they're dicks to the media for no reason. It's like they're just trying to do their jobs, especially like the rich people are so mean to the media. It's like, do you know how much those beat reporters make? They don't make a lot of money. They're just trying to do their jobs. They're trying to feed their families. Stop being asses.
Yeah.
So are you for the ads on the jerseys and helmets?
I don't love the jersey thing. I'm not a big, especially a hockey sweater, especially is sacred. Like there's nothing better than a hockey jersey.
Okay.
A basketball jersey, who cares? They're not creative.
They release a new basketball jersey every other week.
Exactly. A hockey jersey is special, so I would say no to the ads on jerseys, but I'm fine with it on the helmets. Who cares?
Yeah, helmet's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Joe, time out. You sent me an article about the Devils that it seemed like you were pretty pissed about it.
At first I was like, I don't like it because the NHL never did that before, but I get it, especially this year where like Mark was saying before, as he's texting now, how rude on this podcast.
Who's texting?
Yeah, right. He said it before, like the reason why these ads and all the sponsors are here is because people need to get paid and you're keeping jobs, so that's the end goal. So I understand it.
If they did it, I would understand it, but I prefer to keep the jersey sacred at least.
Yeah. Black jerseys, yay or nay?
For the Mets, yeah, no problem. I don't know why there's such a big hubbub about it.
Really?
It's really only Howie Rose that hates the black jerseys and a couple other people.
True.
So bringing back that Ranger jersey behind Joe, yay or nay?
They already did.
So do you like it?
Oh, I love it. I wish NHL Shop had a little better stocking.
Right.
I tried to buy the hoodie. I can get a jersey. I tried to get they had a really cool hoodie they released like the first day, and it hasn't been in stock since. But yeah, I love the Statue of Liberty. I hated the Rangers, like the couple of third jerseys they made like in between the first Liberty jersey and this one. They were never good. Like the Navy one, I never really liked with the New York. It was fine. It just I like
Just plain.
Yeah, it was
exactly.
It was classic. It was classy.
Here's another question though, since we're speaking about uniforms. Do you like how teams change their uniforms?
What do you mean change?
So basically, like, I'll use the Jets as an example. They changed everything about their uniform.
Here's what for newer teams that are still trying to get an identity. I mean, the Jets aren't that. They've obviously been around a long time. I don't mind the new Jets jerseys. I didn't mind the old Jets jersey. I think football jerseys are so plain. Does it really matter?
The Rams and Chargers have good jerseys, though.
Yeah, they do. Nice. But, most football jerseys are fairly plain, so it doesn't really matter. But I don't mind the newer teams trying out new things. Like if they have a really bad jersey at first and they change it, sure. A refresh is fine, but like if the Rangers tried to change their jersey, they did that in the 70s, there was outrage. You don't change an original 6 jersey or a team, like you're not going to change a Yankee jersey.
I was just about to bring them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
But certain other teams, yeah, why not? If you have talented graphic designers and stuff for a reason, just don't screw it up. Like there have been some abominations. Like what do the Islanders do with their third jersey? It's not an abomination, but like why even release a reverse retro jersey for the Islanders and some other teams too?
Yeah, no, I get it. cardboard cutouts or covered tarp over the seats?
Ooh.
I get what you mean.
For fans.
Yeah, that was weird. The NBA, the Knicks didn't even bother with the cardboard cutouts.
They just
But
covered them all.
But also think about it this way: the Rangers are going to be playing there too. You're going to change the cardboard cutouts every time.
Right, exactly. So,
Yeah, it makes sense. I don't really. I mean, the cardboard cutouts are a fine way to make some money for charity or what, make it look nice, but it doesn't really make it. It's never going to be the same. A game without fans is never going to be the same.
Right.
So it doesn't matter.
How do you feel about a limited capacity of fans?
I mean, it's better than nothing, but realistically, we live in New York. Our teams are in New York. It's not going to happen. I can't see the Rangers having any fans in there, or the Knicks, or anybody, just because Cuomo is very.
I know what you want to say.
You
Yeah.
know what I want to say. I'm not a big fan of Cuomo, but
Speaking of Cuomo, sports betting legalized.
it might be the only thing that gets me back to New York.
Yes or no?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
You should have done it 3 years ago.
True. It's true.
I live in Jersey right now, and I had never bet before, I think, July of this year. I had never done it before. I barely even understood what a spread was. But I got DraftKings, and I was like, you know what? I'm bored alone watching sports half the time. Why wouldn't I at least make it a little more interesting? Right. I've won some money here and there. Thank you to the Islanders for losing. They got me a little bit of money, but I enjoy it. And you know what? I'm not the type that's going to, put $10,000 down on a bet, or even $1,000. I'll put $5, $10 is my limit.
Right, a little money.
Like, I'm not. It's just something to give you a little juice.
Right.
Especially NFL playoffs. Why wouldn't I bet?
Watch a game absolutely makes it that much better.
Exactly. But I'm not gonna, spend my rent money on betting. Yeah. That's degenerate behavior.
All right, last few questions. Okay.
All right.
Favorite late night drunk snack?
I guess mozzarella sticks. Love me a good mozzarella stick.
Okay.
Yeah. And I got an air fryer now. Oh, the thing's amazing.
Oh, what are you making there?
Everything. I could literally put anything in an air fryer and it would taste delicious.
All right.
Yeah.
Pandemic or no pandemic?
What is that even a question, Joe?
I'm just kidding. Favorite meal on Long Island? You're from Queens. You've been on Long Island your whole life, pretty much.
It's a tie between two things. It's one at Cafe Bacci and one at Vincent's.
Okay.
So Vincent's Clam Bar is a very famous Italian place in Carl Place, right across from Roosevelt Field Mall. Their chicken parm, best thing in the world. I know Joe doesn't like chicken parm. He thinks it's a fake Italian dish, but whatever. It's my favorite meal. I love it. And everything at Vincent's is amazing. Same thing with Bacci. They have like I think it's just, maybe it's ravioli. I don't remember. No, tortellini amore. That's what it is. It's tortellini in a pink sauce with chicken cutlet. Fantastic. And they have their cheesy bread. Ugh.
There is nothing better than Mark Weiner talking about Italian food. I love it.
I mean, Italian and Greek are my favorite go-to foods. Yeah. And I look like it too.
Least favorite thing about New York other than your sports teams?
You guys have another 20 minutes or so. Governor Cuomo, Bill de Blasio, the subway, all the people. What?
One word.
De Blasio Cuomo.
There you go. Thing you love most?
My wife.
Oh, good answer. Good answer.
That was.
You're stranded on an island. What's the thing that you pack with you?
I guess my cell phone to tell people that I'm stranded on an island.
Something you can't live without. Is it your cell phone?
I mean, can anyone live without their cell phone? It's 2021.
I guess not.
Yeah.
I can. No.
Right. I can't.
All right, well, that was the lightning round. Sorry, we were all over the place, but that is the point of a lightning round. I hope you had fun.
I feel juiced.
Did you have fun?
I did. How could I not have fun?
Perfect. I'm glad you had a good time.
Are we done? Is that it?
That's it. I thought.
I go eat dinner now. I mean, it's like 8:00.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you ate dinner before. You should have did that. Sorry.
No, I have to. No, can't say that on a podcast.
No. On that note, we hope you had a good time on this podcast, Mark. Thank you so much. It was great.
Thank you again, Mark.
Thanks, guys, for having me. Had a blast.
Great to learn your story and share, and some laughs and all that. And listen, you're welcome back anytime.
I'm gladly will come back anytime. Thanks for having me.
By the way, if you guys want to check out some nice old uniforms, turn on channel 70 for the Nets.
Oh, the Nets. Yes, exactly.
They're wearing their powder blues.
Maybe I'll flip that on.
Yeah.
On that note, for Joe Barone
Chris Burrow.
and
Mark Weiner?
yes, you did a
I
good
got
job.
it right that time.
It is the Beeline Podcast signing off, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much, guys.
Have a good night.